All right, guys, so today we are talking Oris and specifically the new Dat Watt limited edition. Couple of really interesting things about the watch. First of all, the dial is beautiful, but what's neat about it is the indicator for the moon phase and tidal range, and I'll explain kind of how that works here in just a minute. Before we get to that, though, big thanks to Gem Bijou for lending in the watch. Gem Bijou is a local Oris dealer. They're also a dealer for many other brands. If you're shopping watches, check them out at gembijou.com. So let's get right to it and take a look at the watch. Now, this is another Oris collaboration. They're raising awareness for the Watt and C, which has the biggest tidal flat system in the world. They've partnered up with the Common Watt and C Secretariat to create the watch, and a portion of sales go to the cause. The gradient dial color, which goes from a gray to blue, then a darker blue, is meant to resemble the mudflats at low tide and transitions to the sea, then the sky. Oris has come out with some pretty great dial colors lately, but this is easily my favorite in a while. It is quite a busy dial, so maybe some won't be a fan of that, but having that unique complication for the lunar cycle and tidal range I think is really cool. The tidal range, which is the difference from low to high tide, changes over the course of the lunar month. The lunar month actually has 29.5 days, and there's markers for those 29.5 days around the inner circular area there. To read the function, you need to set the pointer hand to the day in the lunar month. Now, as time passes by, this hand will actually advance counterclockwise. The moon phase is shown using 8 white circular markers, and you can see here now we are almost at the full moon down at the 6 o'clock. To read the tidal range, wherever the same hand, that pointer hand, crosses the line of that sort of peanut-shaped center area, line that up with the corresponding circular marker, and that will give you the range from minimum on the smallest circle to average, then max on the outer circle. It's a little bit tough to explain, but once you get this in hand, it's actually pretty intuitive. So just to kind of demonstrate, I'll actually adjust that pointer hand, and you can see here that it moves counterclockwise. So in this area where we're at the half moon, that peanut shape where the pointer is crossing is at its narrowest point. That means we're at the minimum tidal range. As we advance it, it goes from average to maximum, and then repeat the same, minimum, approximately average there, and then heading back to the maximum tidal range as we near the full moon. Now, you might be thinking, who would ever need a function like this? And a lot won't, but where I grew up on the east coast of Canada, we lived near the Bay of Fundy, which has the world's highest tidal range. The average is about a meter, but in the Bay of Fundy, it is 16 meters in difference from low to high tide. What was happening with the tide was something that was a regular part of the conversation back then. If nothing else, to know what kind of a beach day you were going to have. We were back actually for my niece's wedding a couple of years ago and visited a popular area there, the Hopewell Rocks. My wife actually caught me taking a wrist shot with the baby tuna, so I'll put that up here now. But hoping to get back there this year to visit the folks, so maybe I'll put together a little video on the trip when we do. Whether or not you need this type of complication is up to you, but it's definitely a neat one and looks pretty cool too. So down at the 6, just below the full moon marker, is the date. We've got well-sized hands, so even though the dial is a little busy, it's still easy to read. Good-sized applied hour markers as well. The loom is BGW9. It's not the brightest loom formula, but it's probably my favorite with that cool blue tone. It's still quite bright though, and Oris does a great job of doing an even application, so it's all the same brightness and fades evenly. The bezel is using a gray ceramic insert, and it almost perfectly matches the gray section at the bottom of the dial. The action feels good. It's a 120 click bezel. Now, one thing I really like about Aquis bezels is they protrude slightly beyond the case, so zero problem getting a hold of it to time something. Now, I find the Aquis bracelets to be some of the best in this price range, and that's a really good thing, kind of an important thing considering they are integrated bracelets. Oris makes some really good straps for the Aquis, but for me, I just would go for the bracelet. It's quite comfortable with it tapering down to just under 18 millimeters at the clasp. If this had some sort of on-the-fly micro adjustment, this would be perfect, but the clasp is still really well made with 3 micro adjusts, solidly built, and we also have a solid milled dive extension. Size on the watch is 43 millimeters. The lug to lug is spot on at 50 millimeters. Thickness is 13.8 millimeters. The water resistance is 300 meters. We've got a sapphire crystal, and the watch is running the Oris 761 caliber, which is based on the Sellita SW200. So quick look on my 7¼ inch wrist before we close out the video, and what a good looking watch. So liking the colors and the interesting complication. These, by the way, are limited to 2009 pieces, which is the year the Wadden Sea became a UNESCO World Heritage Site. MSRP is $27.50 USD. If you're looking for one, this is currently available at gembijou.com. So thanks a lot for stopping by. Any questions on the watch, reach out anytime, and we'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.